Welcome to Bungie is releasing every single bit of information they have today with the Vidoc earlier, which I posted my reaction to, and now we're on to the exotic armor tuning. I want to go over this since obviously this channel primarily focuses on builds, so let's see how things are going to be changing. So first up, they have subclass Prismatic and U. So what they're doing is they're basically making it so exotics like Hoarfrost, which works with stasis, you can just run a stasis super instead of having to run the whole stasis subclass in general. Obviously this is for Prismatic, but I guess it does kind of suck if you want to run something like Hoarfrost and still run a different super. You won't be able to do that, is the way this is reading. I could be wrong, but that's kind of their goal with this, but they do have some other changes as well. But starting off with Hunter, we have Triton Vice. So Glaive projectile final blows now always trigger a detonation that matches the Glaive's damage type, even when the Glaive does not match the equipped subclass. And then the surrounded effect provided by Triton's Vice while wielding a glaive now lingers on the player for 5 seconds after no longer being surrounded. The Triton Vice is kind of just getting some quality of life things. Now the explosion just happens all the time, which is cool. And then you're just going to have surrounded procced a little bit more since it can last even when you're not surrounded. I don't really think this is going to make this exotic too usable unless glaives just become broken, but I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But it is going to be easier to use now, which is cool. Next up is Dragon Shadow. So it has been updated to trigger its effects when you're using Ensnaring Slam or the new Ascension Arc aspect, open up more build crafting combinations. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously Dragon Shadow, you're going to reload your guns, get all that handling. Now it just works with other stuff, which is nice. Next up is Foe Tracer. Now grants the bonus damage it inflicts on a target to weapons. The damage type also matches that of the ability used to damage that target instead of always matching your equipped subclass. With Prismatic, you can apply a variety of different damage elements with your abilities, and this change allows Foe Tracer to buff multiple different weapon damage types instead of just the one that matches your subclass or super element. Okay, so this is kind of a buff for Foe Tracer, so now you just can, you know, hit any enemy with any ability for that element, and it matches that weapons element instead of your subclass. So you can actually buff multiple weapons now depending on the type of abilities you're bringing, which is pretty cool. Again, this is just to work with Prismatic. It's not really going to change too much other than that small little functionality. But we also want to add the additional benefit to 6 Coyote along with Armor Material for Titans, so since otherwise the Spirit Coyote perk on the new exotic class didn't be granted the same benefits as the original exotic, we took inspiration from the Claws of Ahamkara and added the ability for 6 Coyote to create orbs of power from final blows after using your class ability. This is implemented as the exotic, granting a free copy of the Reaper Armor Mod's effects. Okay, so 6 Coyote can just make orbs now if you're running the actual exotic. If it is Reaper, it is going to have that cooldown. I don't really think it's going to change too much, but I mean, I guess it does add a little extra benefit compared to the class item. So I mean, that's pretty neat. Next up is Renewal Grasp. They've been updated for the new Frost Armor. They talked about this yesterday. So on entering a Dust Field Grenade volume, you're going to get stacks of Frost Armor. Then every 0.9 seconds, you'll gain another stack. So Frost Armor is going to give you damage reduction. Very, very strong. Now, Strider Scales. So increased Orbs of Power requirement to gain maximum benefits from 4 to 6 and reduce the increased super energy gain from Orbs of Power when the Golden Gun is equipped from 2% down to 0.5%. Okay, so they are really honing in on nerfing the 6 Golden Gun team, because now you're only going to get 0.5% energy if you're running this specifically just with Golden Gun, and it now takes 6 orbs to get to max, which I mean it's 2 more orbs. It's not like that's a big of a deal because there's orbs everywhere. I still think they're going to be good. You're just not going to have that combination of having 6 Golden Guns on your team. But that's all for the Hunter. Moving on to the Titan now. So they updated Ursa Furiosa to improve the new Void aspect. Unbreakable, cool. I figured this was going to happen. Now provides increased movement speed while guarding with Unbreakable. Also grants super energy from guarding with Unbreakable. This energy scale is based on the amount of incoming damage the shield absorbs. So now you're going to have the super part of Ursa, and now it's also going to help with the new Unbreakable aspect, which is very cool. You're going to get the movement speed and you get super energy when you're guarding with it, and then the guard from your super also gives you super energy. Ursa Furiosa could become a very strong exotic here, because with the well nerf, people might be running the Sentinel Shield banner a lot more, because that applies a 40% damage reduction and blocks all incoming damage. Ursa, you get it back, and you're now going to get more with Unbreakable. This could be a very strong day 1 build. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But Eternal Warrior is up next. No longer requires an arc subclass for arc final blows to grant escalating arc weapon damage. This allows it to synergize the prismatic builds more easily. Its behavior related to the Fist of Havoc is unchanged. Okay, so yeah, it can just work with prismatic now. I mean, I don't really think most people are using Eternal Warrior anyway, but I mean, hey, if that's your thing, it works with prismatic. Now, like this Coyote above, Armor Material is updated for just benefit of granting a second grenade charge. It now creates an overpower from grenade final blows. Okay, so it's just like firepower on it. it, so that's pretty cool. Kefri Swarmer's feeling lackluster in many situations, so increase the potency of its Solar Blast. So increase the damage from the Solar Blast by 100% PvE. The Solar Blast now scorches each time it hits a target instead of scorching only once, and the Kefri Swarm now benefits from Ember of Eruption and Ember of Ashes, plus 30 Scorch in PvE, plus 15 Scorch in PvP. Alright, so the Prismatic Kefri Swarm builds may actually be a thing now, and since it says Ember of Eruption, that normally increases your Ignite radius, so I imagine maybe this increases the wave radius, because I'm not exactly sure what that's going to do. And then with Ember of Ashes, maybe it can also Ignite with, you know, pairing that together. I know Kefri Swarm is going to be a class item exotic, so who knows? This could be very, very good. We'll just have to wait and see. Next up's Heart of Endless Light. They're basically just making it a single stat instead of having multiple things on your HUD, just to clean the HUD up a little bit. The exotic functionality is unchanged. Synthesis is next, so reduce the amount of time that biotic enhancements lingers after no longer being surrounded from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. This duration is now visible as a timer on the buff. All right, so they nerfed Synthesis a little bit. I guess you can't see the timer now, which is cool, but you're not going to get that surrounded damage. I mean, Synthesis obviously are very, very strong. Obviously, it sucks that it did get nerfed, but I mean, it's 3 seconds. It's not going to be like too crazy, I feel like, and most of the time you're keeping ads up anyway, so we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to play out. But next up is Severed's Enclosure. So its explosions now require line of sight to damage enemies. We also reduce the knockback intensity of these explosions, which will now launch enemies more consistently vertically. So Severed's Enclosure is going to be another thing for Prismatic. It's just kind of a nerf in a way, because now you have to have a line of sight. You can't just hit everyone around you, which kind of sucks. And I mean, the intensity, I guess, kind of a buff, because Severed's Enclosure would straight up would just send people to the air, which would be kind of annoying. But I still think it'll be pretty good, and building into it with Prismatic is going to be a ton of fun. But next up is Warlock. So Mantle of Battle Harmony. So now grant super energy ranging from plus 1.5% and plus 4.5% depending on the target type killed, and remove the 2-second cooldown for the perk's activation. Okay, so this is a pretty massive buff for Mantle of Battle Harmony. You're going to get more super now, and you don't have that cooldown. Mantle of Battle Harmony is already a pretty solid exotic, so I mean, this is just going to be very nice. I can't wait to use this, honestly. Next up is Ballador's Wrathweavers. Now, this is probably the same thing. So activating Rift grants you nearby allies the maximum Frost Armor stacks when the Frost Pulse is equipped. Okay, so they do confirm here, you do get maximum Frost Armor with the Rift. We knew about this yesterday, but it's cool that they did clarify. You're getting maximum now. You do have to have Frost Pulse, but if you're running Ballador's, you're probably running Frost Pulse already. But then activating your Winter's Wrath, Shatter attacks grants nearby allies maximum amount of stacks of Frost Armor. When your Winter's Wrath ends, you gain maximum stacks of Frost Armor. So you're going to be able to buff your teammates a lot with this. You're going to be given max Frost Armor. You're going to get that increased damage. Ballador's might actually become pretty strong now with a lot of the other stasis changes. We'll just have to wait and see, but excited to try these out as well. Next up is Second Filament. So Empowering Rift will now reset a player's existing Devour buff duration back to 11 seconds when they enter it, in addition to its previous behavior. Okay, so that is very, very strong. So now you could just stand in the Empowering Rift or just walk in and out of it to get your Devour back. If that heals you every time you walk in and out of it, which I assume it will, it may just reset the timer back, which, you know, I guess okay, but I mean, this is a nice quality of life update, and I mean, in PvP, that could be very good. Now, Verity's Prowl's next up. So, and now it's just going to require Final Blows with the weapon matching your grenade type instead of your subclass, again, for Prismatic, and then better, okay, it literally says better supports on Prismatic subclass. So, yeah, I mean, Verity's Prowl is going to be another class item exotic, I'm pretty sure, so, you know, they kind of had to change that. Then next up is Sunbracers. This is going to be a nerf for sure. So, reduce the increased solar grenade duration from 4 seconds to 2 seconds, and reduced its increased grenade recharge rate to allow a max of 4 grenades while the effect is active, down from 5. All right, so Sunbracers are catching a nerf. I still think they're going to be strong. I mean, 4 seconds to 2 seconds. I don't think this one is that crazy. And this is the more, I guess, potent one that's only going to get 4 grenades. But I mean, 4 grenades is still a lot. It's still going to be crazy for ad clear. But we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But I mean, it's definitely going to be weaker now, but I still think they're going to be very, very good. And next up is Cenotaph Mask. I mean, I think we all saw this coming as well. So multiple players using Cenotaph Mask can no longer trigger its effect using a single enemy target. I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then Cenotaph's target lock visual marker is now hidden for the exotic's wearer and only appears to the wearer's allies. That's an interesting nerf to it. So it's still going to spawn heavy. You just can't spawn it on the same target. I really don't, I mean, this is obviously a nerf, but I really don't think it's going to really affect it that much. This bottom nerf is just, I don't know why they would take it away. I may be out of the loop, but I don't really think that it does anything for the wearer as it is. I guess to make it a little harder to visually see it, but I don't know. Cenotaph still going to be strong. They're really only nerfing it the multiple people thing, so having a Cenotaph Warlock is still going to be very, very good for day one. So next up is power melee and armor effects, and they're essentially just trying to streamline the power melee. It's supposed to mean spending a melee charge. So what they're doing is making things like combination blow or knockout, the things that kind of give you a melee buff. It's not an actual power melee. Your normal melee just can be powered up and cause things. So like things like Severance and Closure and Assassin's Cal now have to be procced on a power melee, which it's a nerf technically, yes. I still think they're going to be very, very good, especially Assassin's Cal, because you can just dodge and get your charge back. But you're no longer going to be able to activate these effects if you don't have a power melee out, but you have a melee buff, so to speak. So overall, a nerf to pretty much everything. They said they're going to be rolling this out to other things in future updates too. But I mean, I don't think it's going to change too much, if I'm being honest. Severance and Closure for sure, because you are going to have to wait for your melee to come back. But things like on Hunter, I mean, you could just dodge and get your melee back. It's not going to be too bad for that, but for stuff like Severance, that's definitely going to be a lot worse. Next up is exotic artifice upgrade. So even if you spent the time to get triple 100's artifice armor set for your build, one piece is always a bit left out. Whether you're looking to make everything match or get the last +3 resilience, or just want to get your hands on artifice gear for the first time, we figured it's about time for us to tie up a loose end. With the release of Final Shape, exotic armor now be able to access the unique mod slot and free stat mods of artifice armor. So exotic armor cannot be upgraded. It has been fully mastered, granted an artifice mod slot. This comes at the cost of an exotic cipher and 10,000 glimmer. Okay, so they're making a use for exotic cipher for everyone that has all the exotics. I mean, 10,000 glimmer is kind of whatever. So this is pretty cool, honestly. I mean, now you're going to have this. You're going to have 5 armor pieces of artifice, so all given +3 stats will be an additional 15 stats. Very, very solid. Next up is an update to the ammo finders. It's been kind of buffed and nerfed in a way. So now whenever you die, you're actually going to keep the stacks to spawn a ammo brick now. That's pretty cool. It used to apparently just not work, but they said this change did mean it started to spawn way more heavy. So they actually increased the amount of stacks you need by 20% to get it to spawn. And they also made it so it doesn't work in Crucible or on Guardian kills and Gambit. So now even if you die, that progress counter is not going to reset. And I think this probably will be overall more of a buff than a nerf, even though they did increase the amount of time it takes to get. But now it's never going to be anything where you die and then you have to completely redo it again. So this is a pretty good change in my opinion. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. Next up is raid armor mod. So all they did was they removed the cost of actually applying a raid specific armor mod, which is very, very good. No one ever really ran these because you had to sacrifice some of your other mods for this, but now they're going to cost 0. And I mean, this is very nice. It actually might be beneficial to carry some raid armor mods because some of them are very, very strong. But conclusion, that's everything we have for this update. We're excited to see these changes in the Final Shape, and we'll be listening to your feedback as you get some time with the new changes. So overall, I mean, for my conclusion, I mean, a lot of this stuff was just like, hey, we're gonna just change it for prismatic. There are some juicy changes though. If I'm being honest, Ballador has me very intrigued. Mantle Battle Harmony is also gonna be pretty interesting. Some bracers got a nerf, but I think we all saw that coming. The Cenotaph nerf, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's not like as crazy, but I mean, it definitely is a nerf, but it's still going to be pretty strong. For Titan, Kefri's Horn is going to be super fun to play around. I think Ursa's going to be very, very strong now. Renewal Grass or Hunter is going to be interesting with the Frost Armor. Foe Tracer is also going to be pretty interesting. Triton Vice, I still think this is going to be kind of bad, but I mean, hey, we'll see. It definitely is going to be easier to use. But overall, I mean, this is pretty good. There's definitely going to be some underutilized exotics that are going to start rising to the top, or at least have, you know, some use cases anyway. I wish there was some more for some of the weaker exotics, but I mean, what we got is still nice, and we'll probably see some more in the future. And again, the Cenotaph nerf, I mean, I still think this is going to be good, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, though, that's all for me. Let me know what you all think about these changes in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.